the next question I'd like to ask is, and they make a fuss about it in the Kelly-Bramston book, was the Governor-General justified? Was there precedent in his seeking independent legal advice? And could that legal advice include the Chief Justice?
Yes, you're right, David. They do make a big deal out of this in their book.
Song and dance, isn't it?
Yes, and the fact is that throughout the book they conflate the concept of the Governor-General acting on the advice of his ministers with seeking independent legal advice on an issue unrelated to government. They sort of jump between those two concepts quite frequently. But the bottom line is that the Governor-General must have the ability to seek independent legal advice, particularly in relation to his exercise of the reserve powers.
And even when he's looking, he's being advised in relation to the making of regulations.
Yes,
I think he has the right there.
Yeah, I agree.
And I gather that at least one Governor-General who is among us today, former Governor-General, took the same view.
Yes. I think that in relation to the Whitlam dismissal, I think that not only did he, or let me say first of all that of course there were precedents for the Governor-General and State Governors consulting with the Chief Justice on these sorts of matters. So Sir Garfield Barwick, who was the Chief Justice at the time, could point to that fact that it had happened quite often. He had to first of all satisfy himself that what Sir John Kerr was asking was not justiciable, and which he was able to do because the Constitution is quite clear about that. And but I think that the Governor-General also had a duty, not just a right. I think he also had a duty to consult independently, and he chose Sir Garfield Barwick because he knew that what he was about to do was going to be contentious and create a lot of animosity. And he had a duty to minimise that as much as he could and to reassure the Australian public that he wasn't acting, as a maverick or just on a whim, but that he had solid legal opinion behind him. So I think that was needed in order to, and the fact that they did not release the Chief Justice's advice until a couple of weeks after the dismissal adds weight to that, because I think they were waiting for the initial furor to die down so people could then, in a bit more calm atmosphere, take in the fact that the Chief Justice was quite firm that that the Governor-General took action that was justified and constitutional.
I think that's true. A few years after the dismissal, I met in Sydney, there's a function, I met a law lord, a British law lord. That is a member of that part of the House of Lords which used to be the final court of appeal for the United Kingdom. They also functioned as the Privy Council. The Judicial Committee of the Privy Council. And he told me he was surprised by the attacks on the Chief Justices and on Kerr for seeking that advice. He said, we regularly receive requests for advice. Regularly receive requests for legal advice from the palace.
Yes.
So there was a transaction, a channel of communications between the palace and the House of Lords asking for legal advice on particular things that the Queen was asked to do. So there's a long-standing tradition of that. And also, of course, the view is that the reserve powers are not justiciable.
Yes.
They can't go to court.
Yes.
And therefore, the Chief Justice wasn't likely to be involved.
I agree.
In a case concerning it. So I think...
And that was what Barwick satisfied himself was the case.
Yes.